Hello everyone, welcome back to TH Designs. For today's video, we're back on the recreation train, coming hot off of our last recreation, which was Green Lantern First Flight, the much coveted worst coaster ever made, or at least one of the most infamous coasters ever made. Today we're doing the oldest coaster in Cedar Fair, and of course that kind of comes packaged with the fact that Cedar Fair just merged with Six Flags. So the follow-up question may be, why not do the oldest coaster in Six Flags? Of course, that being the Wild One over in Six Flags America in Maryland. And my answer to that is Thunderhawk, which is the oldest coaster in Cedar Fair, is in Dorney Park, which is my local park and is a park that I grew up in, or ride I grew up riding. And so it has a pretty special place in my heart for it. So, unfortunately, the Wild One's going to have to hold off until the next recreation video. So of course, with all that said, let's kind of talk about what we're seeing in the time-lapse right now. So you're seeing all these screens with Google Earth, and I'm assuming that for many players of Planet Coaster, that may be what's catching your eye. And it's a technique that I've used in Planet Coaster 1, and I decided to bring it back for this coaster because it is the first coaster that we are recreating on this channel that I felt it was doable and necessary as well. Of course, Green Lantern and Kingda Ka are such simple layouts that I didn't feel that the Google Earth method was necessary. However, for this coaster, which of course is a traditional out and back kind of figure eight type of layout, it felt necessary to make sure everything was to scale. If you are interested in how I did it, basically I went into Google Earth and made it at a 40-meter scale, screenshot all of it, put it into Adobe Illustrator, and scaled down the box to be the exact proportions of the largest screen that you can make in the game. And I basically turned it into 8 different images that I could then import into the game and place them as little puzzle pieces and build on top of it. So if that is something that a lot of people are interested in actually seeing how that workflow works, then I can do a video on that. But for now, you got a nice glimpse of it. It basically means that at least top down wise, the layout is 100% one-to-one. As for the height and everything, you know, it's an 80-foot coaster, so that is at least accurate. As for the rest of the ride, you know, it's kind of just based off of memory and images. That's kind of the nice thing with this ride is contrary to other rides that I've recreated, especially with like Green Lantern, which I never actually experienced. There was a heavy reliance on Google Earth and Google Images, whereas this, I go to the park as often as I can, so I'm very familiar with the layout and the area around it. Of course, let's talk about the actual ride itself, because for most people, you probably don't even know of this ride. And it's 101 years old. It just turned 100 last year, 2024. Of course, meaning that it opened in 1924. To compare that to the oldest coaster in Six Flags, Wild One, as I mentioned before, that was 1917. So we're looking at about a 7-year difference between the two. Both are just incredibly impressive with their age. But this ride is still doing pretty well for being 101. It opened in 1924, as I said, and it was originally in a out and back layout, your typical wooden coaster layout, old wooden coaster layout. And the figure eight that you kind of see in this video and what exists today was reconfigured in 1930. On top of that, the ride itself was built by PTC, Philadelphia Toboggan Coasters. They also made the trains for the ride, which actually, when the ride, up until 2016, when it was renovated and given new trains and new paint job and everything, it was given the trains you actually see in the game with the classic PTC trains that have very high seats. Nowadays, what you have instead from that 2016 renovation is seats that are flush with the train. You may be also seeing that the track goes underground kind of in a unusual way. You know, why does it go subterranean? And that's actually because the ride originally opened, of course, it wasn't called Thunderhawk. It was originally called the Coaster. Again, as with most old coasters. It was charmingly nicknamed the Yellow Coaster, of course, because it's yellow. And then it was 1989 where it was changed to Thunderhawk. When it first opened, the entrance to Dorney Park actually was on this side of the park. Of course, I'll attach a screenshot to Google Earth so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. And I'll have to remember that for a lot of you don't know the park as well as I do. But the park entrance used to actually be over here, and there used to be a large building that was attached to the entrance that went over Thunderhawk. And that's why you see the track go subterranean, because it actually went underneath the building. I believe there were bumper cars and all and stuff like that in the building. I'll see if I can find some old footage and we can, you know, take a look at that. Either way, you see me working now on probably the thing that took me the longest was that roof structure there. Ironically, that's probably the one individual item that took the most attention. They need to add a mirroring, the ability to mirror items. It just would do so many favors. There is a way that I know of, because I did it with Falcon's Flight, where you can actually build on the coaster. And of course you can mirror on the coaster when you're doing the coaster train editing. And then you can detach it from the coaster. So it essentially is a way of mirroring items. But it's just, it could be a pain in the you know what. I just kind of had to bite the bullet and rebuild it. Kind of the same thing with this structure here that you're seeing for the station. I kind of also wish they would add these metal panels as just regular roof items instead of me having to make them custom, because I also had to do the very same thing for Pantherian. This is kind of a different type of video to what we typically do here, so I'm going to kind of explain what my goal is. So besides, you know, the opportunity to make a recreation, make a video as we typically do, what I see here is the opportunity to potentially RMC it. So that may be a video that could be coming in the next week or so. Is I would love to turn this into an RMC, turn a 101-year-old coaster into a Rocky Mountain Constructions hybrid coaster. That could be very fun, and then that opens up the possibility of potentially being a series where I rebuild old classic wooden coasters, which of course have so much charm to them and in their own right have an audience, and then turn them into, go through the challenge of turning them into a hybrid where they then have to adapt the layout to include inversions and all that fun stuff that comes with RMC. So that might be something that to keep an eye out for in the coming days. I've always wanted to do it, and this looks like the perfect opportunity to do it. Of course, with Wild One, as I've been saying, being the oldest in Six Flags, that might be the next one after this. Other than that, I don't know if there's anything else too much that I want to talk about. I just wanted to get this video out. Of course, thank you for all the love and attention that you've been giving the Wheel of Wonders. Don't worry, that is the next video that will be worked on, and I hope to have that out by this weekend. So also keep an eye out for that. Enjoy the time lapse. It's really fun to make. It holds a special place in my heart, being a local park, and I feel it did a fairly good job working on it. So I hope you guys enjoy. And the cinematic, like I always say, should be really fun to make, and I will see you guys then.
you.